Happiness is beautiful, it's a kind reality. Happiness is the highest good, happiness is free. So let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy.
Welcome to the Happiness Show. This is George Ortega. I'm here with Lionel Ketchian, and we're here to talk about happiness because happiness is, always has been, and always will be the point of it all. Today we're going to be talking about happiness and keeping busy. And let's start out with just the scientific finding. This has been demonstrated in a lot of research, a lot of studies on happiness, that busy people are happier. You know, it's as simple as that.
Well, let's look at ourselves. I know that sometimes when you're busier, I'm happier, and I feel I can get more done when I'm busy. When I've got a lot of time, I can't seem to get things done, and I don't feel as great, I think, as when I'm busy. I think you're right.
Yeah, and let's explore why, you know, being busy helps happiness. I think one reason is that when we're not busy, when we're not doing anything, generally, that can invite many more unpleasant thoughts, like
bingo.
Oh yeah,
bingo.
Yeah, thoughts like, you know, I'm not doing anything. You know, this isn't productive. This isn't stimulating. You know, according to research, our minds need a certain amount of stimulation. You know, visual stimulation, auditory, attention, all that. So in terms of in terms of just like doing what our mind enjoys and avoiding those negative emotions, keeping busy is ideal for that.
Yeah, you know, it's like used to joke about this. I got places to go, things to do, people to see, and it felt good to even know that I had to do all of that. And I think you've hit the nail on the head with the idea that when we're busy, we don't have time to dwell and you know, have these recurring thoughts that we can get stuck in and you know, pretty much be depressed by.
Yeah, because I think, you know, like we are hedonic creatures. Our basic motivation is to seek pleasure and avoid pain, right? And so, yeah, when we're actively involved in whatever it is, you know, any kind of activity, playing a sport, a hobby, talking with friends, even watching TV to a certain extent, although we can overdo that, that gives us something to do. It just like, it minimizes the influence, the potential influence of these negative emotions. And you know, again, we enjoy that. We enjoy the activity, and that it's a great barrier to those negative emotions.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think the busier we are, also another sense is the more we seem to be able to accomplish, and the more we feel good about getting done. So there's you know, the old saying, if you need something done, ask a busy person to do it, right?
Oh yeah.
So these sayings seem to have some truth to them, and sometimes we can get so preoccupied with not having flow in our life that we don't get anything done. We don't seem to get anything done. And I know people that have retired say, gee, they can't even understand how they work because now they're busier than they were when they used to work.
Oh, yeah.
In doing nothing, it sort of the time just gets filled up with things that they have to do. But I think the question would be, are they happy doing the kind of busy work they're doing? I think the other thing is to do what you enjoy doing, and you know, not just to be busy to kill time, but to be busy in doing something useful and something meaningful for you and for others. I think that would be important.
Yeah, that's also important because, like, also according to the research, this guy Ken Sheldon, one of the very top happiness increase researchers, he did a study with freshmen, college freshmen, and see, being busy to a great extent is about accomplishing goals. Now, what he found in his study is that those of us who, as you say, are able to like keep ourselves busy in things that we really enjoy, that are meaningful to us, and that those of us who set goals that are neither too difficult for us nor too easy generate the greatest happiness. And in his research, the freshmen who set academic goals, who were best at setting these goals and meeting them, their happiness level increased the most over their entire 4 years of college. So keeping busy, again, is a lot about, you know, achieving goals, you know, setting goals and achieving them. And setting and achieving goals is very central to happiness.
Well, I would think it would be, because I think that once you've achieved a goal that you set out to work on, that achievement probably gives you a higher feeling of setting out to attain something which you've done, and then you have, I think that would give you confidence in yourself. So another way of looking at this is keeping busy just may be another way of giving you confidence in your ability to get things done.
That's a great point. Because, yeah, I mean, like happiness, I mean, you know, one of the 4 personality traits most correlated with happiness is self-esteem. And, like, we're, like, with ourselves all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if we're, like, becoming more confident with everything we do,
Right.
we're liking ourselves more.
Yeah, and that's certainly a building block to happiness. No wonder it makes sense when you think of being busy. I would like to say that being busy in itself may not be the key, because sometimes people say, oh, I'm so busy, but I'm not getting anything done.
You're right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah? So I think there's a distinction there.
You're right, Lionel. Because let's deal with that. Let's talk about, like, when is it that we can overdo being busy?
Okay, I think if we're trying to be busy so we kill time and we have no purpose in what we're doing and we don't like what we're being busy with, we dislike it, it's not important to ourselves or others, and we're just, you know, we could be busy watching television, for example, and hating what we watch, by the way, and even saying, oh, I've got nothing to do, and I wish I was doing something else, but I'm busy doing this, or it might even be something good for someone else, like you'll say you'll do something for someone and then hate doing it. I think if you're going to do something for someone else, you at least have to like doing it, because if you do it and you don't like it, I don't think you're doing it for the right reasons as much as you may think you are. I think it's a good idea to do things that you like to do, get a sense of accomplishment in doing, and whether or not it's helpful for others, I think you have to derive benefit for yourself. Otherwise, there's no real benefit if it's not for yourself. You're not going to continue doing something you don't get enjoyment from.
Yeah, and also, you know, I think that relates very well to work environments. You know, so many of us work so many more hours than we have to. You know, here in America, we work much more than Europeans. I heard recently that for a country to get accepted in the European Union, they have the citizens of that country have to be given at least 1 month vacation each year. That's like a law, you know, to be part of that European Union.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
we should have that here. Because, yeah, I mean, what happens here, like, you know, we'll, like, driven by these mistaken notions of what makes for happiness, you know, so many of us will get into jobs that demand 10, 12 hours a day for week after week, month after month, year after year. And, like, you know, sometimes, as you're saying, sometimes it's not that they're really enjoying the job, but they expect these benefits from the job that ultimately don't materialize. So that's another way that we can overdo busyness, just like spending too much time just in activities that as you say aren't for our benefit, or are just like mistakenly we think it'll lead to happiness, but really it wouldn't.
Yeah, you're right. So being busy in general is something that can make us feel good, because another way of looking at it is a diversion from our thinking. And if we are busy and we're thinking, usually our thoughts are more geared to a purpose, something meaningful, especially if what we're being busy with is something that's good, you know, something that's meaningful, has a benefit for others. I think it will breed a higher thought for us. It'll give us better thinking, better. If we're going to dwell, you know, with thoughts, they're going to be a much higher, more conducive, healthy kind of thought than when we're, you know, bored. Because I think it's boredom that can lead to depression. And so again, being busy in the right way is a very powerful thing.
Right. But yeah, going back to, like, you know, overdoing business, a lot of us, though, unfortunately, let's say are afraid of our feelings. A lot of us feel that, you know, to not be busy, to not be doing something, cleaning, cooking, paperwork or something, that, you know, a lot of people don't know what to do with themselves in those situations. And, you know, they're afraid to not be busy, because they know that when they stop being busy, those negative emotions creep in, and that's what they're trying to avoid. And that's unfortunate. Like the great thing is that for people like that, it's just like society, their schooling, their parents just haven't trained them, haven't taught them how to use that leisurely time, that time where they're not busy, in pleasant ways, in ways that avoid worrying, that avoid these negative emotions.
Well, that's very interesting. Give me an example of what you're talking about. And you're saying that that also by not being busy, we have to give ourselves the right way of looking at it?
This happens a lot as we get older. Our senior citizens experience this. They retire. They retire and they're looking forward to, in a sense, this great leisure as they're retired, but their lifestyle before that hasn't prepared them for that. So a lot of them, they don't have to work anymore, but they have so much free time on their hands that rather than really enjoying it and reaping the most of it, they kind of like suffer the effect of it, and they try to keep as busy as possible in order to compensate for not really understanding, having learned how to use that leisure time.
Have you got something you could suggest for them?
Well, this is something that's societal. Once society gets to the point that we understand that happiness is what life is about, once business people get to the point that they understand that there are billions of dollars to be made training people to become happier, then you'll get happiness courses being taught, like Berlitz and all. Ideally, you'll get happiness instructors going into nursing homes, teaching them. But before that, of course, naturally, as society understands happiness, societal changes, books, magazines, television shows, all this, it's got to be a general education process to then communicate to people that yes, there's a way to be much happier using leisure time wisely, and it's simply just a matter of learning and understanding.
Well, basically, George, you're really talking about. We started off by talking about being busy, and now we're talking about the opposite spectrum of when life slows down. It might be retirement, or it could be many other things. It could be a weekend, an evening. It could be time off, vacation, whatever it might be. So now we're really talking about what do you do when you're not busy, and how do you balance that, and how do you find happiness there? I think that's what you're really talking about now.
Right, because that's the other side of the equation. If we're not busy doing things that we're busy doing just to be busy, then the other option is being busy, becoming happier.
Okay, so you're saying that you don't have to be busy to be happy either.
Well, no, this point is more so that, like happiness, or like a lot of times when we think of busyness, we think of like, cooking something, creating, making a table, making
doing
money,
something.
Doing things, right? But what we have to understand as a society is that becoming happier is doing something.
Okay.
And in fact, not only is it doing something, it's doing what our hearts, what our minds, what our most basic desires, our basic motivation wants the most. We're hedonic creatures. We seek pleasure and avoid pain. So it's the idea of approaching happiness directly. Getting busy, generating positive feelings, negating negative feelings, spending time with others to cooperate with this, to be busy, becoming happier as a group. Just the idea of like, just understanding that feeling happy and becoming happier is in fact an activity.
I would like to suggest that whether it's sitting and thinking about our own thoughts of happiness, reading, watching this show either on their public access television or on the happiness.show.com on cable. If people could spend time on their happiness and it doesn't appear like they're being busy, that would be being busy, because I think being busy working on your happiness is the greatest form of busyness there is, or a good form, I should say. I don't want to qualify it to say it's the greatest, but it certainly is a very important one, because it's not only important for the individual, for you, for me to be happy, but it really is one of those qualities that transfers to the world. As we become happier, you can't help but spill it over to the world. You push it across to people in your attitude, in your manner, in your way of speaking, in your way of dealing, in your physicality, in every way. If you're not saying it with your words or smile or being, you're expressing happiness to them. Either that, or you could be expressing anger and hostility. So it's so much better for you and for the world to express happiness. So that's why it's important to be busy working on your happiness, even though for someone looking in, they may just see you sitting in a chair and they say, gee, he's not doing anything. But if you're working on your happiness, that's not doing nothing. That's doing quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. And Lionel, you mentioned before about, being happier, being happy as the greatest thing or potentially greatest thing. There's Jeremy Bentham wrote or said the statement, the measure of goodness is what creates the greatest happiness for the greatest number. So in a certain sense, I think you're right. I think the greatest thing we can do, not just for ourselves, but for the rest of the world, is to work on our happiness, not in a way that detracts from the happiness of others, not in a way that is at the expense of others, but to work on our own happiness and to work on the happiness of others at the same time. Because really, there is nothing greater than that.
Yeah, so I think that being busy is a wonderful thing towards thinking right and being meaningful, achieving certain purposes and outcomes. But so is almost doing what appears to be almost doing nothing and working on your happiness. I mean, the two are one. So that's being busy too, but it's not producing a result or maybe an outcome or a goal. It's something intangible. It's something that you don't see right away. But maybe it's something that somebody will say to you 5 years from now, George, you seem to have changed. You seem like you're a lot happier and lighter and more carefree now than I remember you. And, it's that kind of quality that you could change yourself with. Change is being busy, to work on change or even to work on acceptance of oneself. These are all qualities of happiness that I think, as you're bringing up in this show, being busy, what better thing to be busy with?
Exactly, and in terms of the benefits that you brought up, that as we, there's so much research behind this. As we become happier, we make more money if money's important to us. We become more energetic. We cooperate more. We're more compassionate. We're healthier. We're just like, there are so many benefits. So if those other aspects of life are important to us, then happiness, being busy at becoming happier is a wonderful way, a very pleasant and probably the best way of achieving those other goals also. You also mentioned the idea of just sitting there being happy. I think the title of this book that I saw some time ago was "Don't Just Do Something, Sit There." Right. And so that's so important because that book I think was written from somebody who grew up in the East. Didn't have a Western mindset. Because the idea is that here in the United States and in the West a lot, we think that if we're not doing something, we're not doing anything. When you think of our basic goal in life, the basic goal of us all. When we stop doing things, many of which, don't lead to either our happiness or the happiness of others, when we stop doing so many things and replace those things that we're doing with just sitting and doing nothing but feeling much happier, that's powerful, Lionel. There's really, in a sense, no greater use of our time. Because, for many of us, happiness is an experience that we're not all that familiar with. Society doesn't promote it that much. We don't get it taught in schools. Our parents don't teach us. And so, a lot of us just aren't familiar with that feeling. And so you sit there and you tune into it. Because, we can do this. Many of us, I think here in the United States, we can all, sit down and get into the feeling, for example, of anger or fear or something, right? But just as we can do that with those negative emotions, we can do that with happiness. And that's what being busy, sitting and doing nothing but being happier is about.
Yeah, you remind me that meditation may look like doing nothing, but yet that could be a form of being busy, but it's busy doing nothing, but it's not nothing that you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
You're centering yourself. You're emptying yourself. You're getting rid of a lot of negative thoughts and energy that you just don't need, that is useless, that's even detrimental to you. But George, as you mentioned, that title of that book, Don't Just Do Something, Sit There, reminds me of a quote, and I know I don't have it right, but I believe it was Pascal who said this. He said, most or all of men's problems is not having the ability to sit in a chair and do nothing.
That's good.
Yeah. And I think, especially in the United States, we've taken busy to a whole nother meaning. And so when we talk about busy, we talk about, we already discussed that, but there are things with meaning, with purpose, with, and you know what the effects are on you when you feel it. Not crazy busy, but beneficial busy. But the other, it's really not an extreme, and it's really not the other extreme, but it seems or appears to be, doing nothing seems like an extreme of being busy, but yet it is being busy because you're choosing to do it. Now, I think that's the difference. If you're sitting there choosing to dwell on some thoughts, maybe meditate on something, or pass the time away with some very pleasant thinking that really supports the way you're feeling and elevates you, that is a wonderful thing. I mean, that's something we can all do. That's something that could be much more beneficial to us than maybe watching 5 hours of TV at night. And then when somebody says, "Well, what did you watch?" You say, "I don't remember." And all I know is I didn't like it. It stunk. So to spend 15 minutes, 10 minutes with alone time, maybe. In clearing your thoughts and feeling good about yourself. Wow, that's powerful stuff. I mean, that's really powerful. And it goes along with all the other things we first talked about: self-respect, caring about others, caring about yourself. You start to put an importance in managing yourself. And I think that's another attribute that we need to learn more of in all our problems start in how we deal with ourselves, not in out there.
Yeah, and Lionel, we're going to do a show on this eventually, hopefully sometime soon, but in terms of some of our viewers might be asking, well, how do we sit there and become happier? Okay, one of the only happiness strategies that I use is, I call this cognition determination. I sit either at home, but I prefer to sit out in public, like in a food court or a coffee shop, where there are people around, because people stimulate my emotions, either both positively and negatively, and that's good, because that gives me material to work with. So I'll sit there with a paper and pen, pad of paper, and write down. I'll think to myself the words I feel, and then I'll write the word great, happy, blissful, confident, wonderful, successful, and then again, we're going to do a show on this, but just briefly, so people can understand how they can do this. Then naturally, negative thoughts can come into our minds at that time, right? Negative thoughts, fear, anger, worries, and all that. As we detect those negative feelings, we simply write down their opposites. If we're feeling afraid, we'll write words like I feel safe, I feel assured, I feel courageous, I feel whatever the word is that kind of reflects the opposite of that feeling. And Lionel, I mean, you talk about, spending 10 minutes to become happier. I a lot of times realize that, with my free time, I could be maybe watching TV, reading a book, doing things, but I realize that what I want most is to become happier. So sometimes I'll spend over an hour doing this technique, and I've got it, the caveat is that it can become work. It can feel like work, but it's kind of like, people go to a gym and work out for an hour or so. This is like a happiness workout. It is work, but it is so powerful, so amazingly powerful, not just for happiness, but I'm finding it's improving my confidence. It's like sometimes I know that I'm a very good person, but sometimes I don't feel that way. So just whatever it is that we want to work on, whatever way we want to be, this technique just streamlines everything. It just cuts right to everything.
George, I would consider what you're doing as being you're taking what's in your unconscious, or a collective storage bin. And as you're focusing on it, as it's coming up for you, what you're really doing is you're bringing conscious awareness to it. And when you bring that into the light of conscious awareness, sometimes these things just collapse and disappear. These fears just go, because when you bring it into the light of awareness and you look at it for yourself with a rational mind, not with an unconscious mind, you just say to yourself, what do I need that for?
Right, no, but Lionel, this is even more than that. Like, that's part of it, but this bypasses understanding. Because like, if we're feeling afraid...
You do the opposite.
And we're writing, I feel not afraid, I feel not fearful, because you can use the word not also. Right. It's like, we don't have to understand it. We don't have to analyze it. Our mind will follow that. That's why Madison Avenue, shows us so many commercials of the exact same thing, because the more our mind sees something, the more it follows.
But like I'm saying, it's conscious awareness. You're telling your consciousness what to be aware of. You're self-directing your awareness.
Definitely.
And it's the unconscious awareness that could, sort of hidden behind a shadow. If you don't know what it is, it can control you because you don't know what it is it's thinking. And this way you're programming your mind what to think. I think it's great.
Yeah. Lionel, we've got about a minute and a half. I want to just explore the idea of keeping busy, getting busy, creating a happier world.
Well, that's what you and I do. And, with all the different things we've been up to, like the Happiness Club, the happinessclub.com website, Happiness Club meetings, newsletters, column. George, you can go on with what you're doing and what we do together. We've seen the effects in the world, and I think being busy doing something that's beyond the two of us or beyond ourselves is the most rewarding thing in the world. And happiness, to me, is extremely rewarding because it is the purpose and the meaning of it all.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's the idea. If we want to keep busy, being busy, creating a happier world, together, cooperating to do it, is probably the most pleasant thing we can do, and certainly the most powerful and influential and effective. All right. Well, that's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching. In the future, we'll explore other topics designed to help us better enjoy life. This is George and Lionel saying, be good, think well, feel very happy, and I hope you'll join us again next time here on The Happiness Show.
Happiness is powerful. It's our underlying need. Happiness is why we live each day. Happiness is destiny. So let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy.